What's going on, everyone? This is Luke from South Beach Sports and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to preview some of the potential head coaching replacements for the Miami Dolphins after they surprisingly fired head coach Brian Flores. I gave my instant reaction to the Flores firing in a video this morning. I will link that video down in the description below, so if you want to check it out, the video will be there to check out. And since that video dropped, we have heard a lot of news about why Flores was fired, and we've heard a lot of conflicting reports about that. I think the general consensus that I've heard through multiple trusted sources and multiple reports is that the relationship between General Manager Chris Greer, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, and Flores really wasn't the greatest, and that Flores really wasn't the easiest guy to get along with. I'm not going to speak on the rumors of different players such as Tua Tagovailoa not getting along with Flores, just because I'm not sure and I'm not certain about the validity of these reports, and I don't want my name attached to something that might not be true. So in today's video, I'm going to focus on some of the potential replacements for Flores. Now, these aren't confirmed candidates, these aren't confirmed coaches that the Dolphins will interview. These are just simply names that have been brought up and names that I think will get talked about through the next upcoming weeks as the Dolphins search for the next head coach. The first head coaching candidate that I want to get into today is former Philadelphia Eagles head coach Doug Pederson. Pederson was the head coach of the Eagles from 2016 to 2020, and he won a Super Bowl in Philly in 2017. Before that, Pederson was the offensive coordinator under head coach Andy Reid in Kansas City, so Pederson definitely has a lot of experience both as a coordinator and as a head coach. Let's talk first about his positives. Pederson is a very smart offensive mind who helped popularize the RPO system in 2017 under quarterback Nick Foles. The RPO was something that quarterback Tua Tagovailoa runs very, very well, and it would definitely be a smooth transition for Tua. Another positive is that Pederson has a boatload of experience in the NFL as a head coach, and he has a lot of playoff experience as, like I said, he won a Super Bowl. The negatives surrounding Pederson definitely have to do with the ending of his Eagles tenure, which was very, very, very rough. That last Eagles season with Pederson, the Eagles finished 4-11, and by the end of that season, there were a lot of Philly fans calling for his firing. In the one season since then, under head coach Nick Sirianni, the Eagles are a playoff team once again, so there are definitely a lot of question marks surrounding Pederson, and he's far from a perfect candidate. The next coaching candidate that I want to talk about today is former Colts and Lions head coach Jim Caldwell. Caldwell was the head coach for the Colts from 2009 to 2011, and he made a Super Bowl appearance with the Colts. He was fired after a 2-14 season when they did not have Peyton Manning, but looking at some of his quarterbacks that season, led by the likes of, I'm trying to think here, Curtis Painter, I think another one was Kerry Collinsworth, I believe was his name. I think Dan Orlovsky may have been on that team, I'm not exactly sure. But the quarterbacks that Caldwell had to manage during that season were absolutely awful. And he was then hired in Detroit, and he, by many, is considered one of the greatest Lions coaches of all time. He led the Lions to an 11-5 record one year, and he was fired after a 9-7 season with much controversy surrounding that. And my roommate, who is a diehard Lions fan, absolutely loves Jim Caldwell. And as a coach, I would be a huge fan, but there is one major negative. Well, actually two negatives that kind of tie into one, and that is the age and health of Caldwell. Caldwell will be 67 at the start of next season, and there were some health concerns with Caldwell. He was actually hired in 2019 under Brian Flores to be the Dolphins quarterback coach and assistant head coach, and he had to take a leave of absence due to his health, so I'm not sure if that's something that is still limiting him. But if Caldwell is hired as the Dolphins head coach, I would feel more comfortable if there was a high-level young assistant next to Caldwell to kind of be next in line, or if the Dolphins go elsewhere with a head coaching hire, say they hire a young up-and-coming coordinator, I would definitely like Caldwell to be part of that staff as an associate head coach or an assistant head coach. I apologize if that last bit of audio just ended very abruptly. I started rambling after that, and I just wanted to cut the audio because I really wasn't saying much. But anyways, the next head coaching candidate that I want to talk about is Eric Bieniemy, who is the current offensive coordinator in Kansas City under Andy Reid and was the longtime running backs coach with Andy Reid in Kansas City before that. Now, his name has been talked about as a potential NFL head coach for quite some time now, at least 2 to 3 years, and it just hasn't happened yet. There are definitely a lot of people who raise concerns about Bieniemy, considering that he doesn't call plays in Kansas City. But to that, I say look at some of Andy Reid's past coordinators who haven't called plays either. Those coordinators went on to become successful coaches in the NFL, such as a Doug Pederson, for example. Now, with Bieniemy, I don't know a whole lot about him, so I'm not going to talk much about him. But I will say this, when the Texans were looking for a new head coach at the end of last season, they ultimately decided on David Culley, but they did look at Eric Bieniemy, and that was Deshaun Watson's preferred head coach. So if Bieniemy is hired in Miami, I would definitely look at that situation, or I would at least monitor that situation carefully. I'm not saying if Bieniemy is hired by the Dolphins that Watson becomes a surefire thing, but it is definitely a situation to at least monitor. Now, the next potential hire that I want to talk about would be my personal favorite, and that is Bill. No, I'm messing with y'all. There's no chance that Bill O'Brien gets hired by the Miami Dolphins. Don't worry, Dolphins fans. I just want to throw this in just to mess with y'all. The next potential head coaching candidate that I want to talk about is current Saints defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. Allen was the head coach in Oakland from 2012 to 2014, where he compiled a very, very bad 8-28 total record. While Allen has been a very successful coordinator in New Orleans for the past 6 years, I believe, he did have a very, very rough head coaching tenure, and I just don't see the Dolphins moving in this direction. They did interview Dennis Allen back in 2019 when they had a head coaching vacancy before they hired Brian Flores, but I don't think that the Dolphins will look to hire a defensive-minded coordinator, just given that they had a defensive-minded head coach in Brian Flores, and their offense was absolutely horrible. I think the Dolphins will likely move in the direction of more of an offensive-minded guy, so I wouldn't expect Dennis Allen to be a serious candidate, but it wouldn't shock me if the Dolphins gave him an interview. The last head coaching candidate that I want to talk about today is former Alabama offensive coordinator and current Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. Daboll was the first college coach that really developed Tua Tagovailoa in college in 2017. That was the season in which Tua came off the bench in the national championship game and threw that game-winning touchdown pass. And Daboll is really a big fan of Tua. I'm sure we've heard, or I'm sure you guys have heard the quote about Tua that he has keyhole accuracy. Well, that quote came from none other than Brian Daboll. Daboll has been sensational in his past couple seasons in Buffalo, and he seems to be one of the next coordinators in line for a potential head coaching spot somewhere, and I think the Dolphins would be a perfect match for him. If the Dolphins do hire Daboll, it wouldn't surprise me if Daboll subsequently hired Ken Dorsey to be the Dolphins' next offensive coordinator, and I would be a huge fan of that. Dorsey has heavy Miami ties, as he was the Miami Hurricanes' former quarterback when they won the national championship in 2002, and Dorsey is known as one of the best QB developers in the entire NFL. He was the QB coach in Carolina when Cam Newton won the MVP award, and he's done a really good job in Buffalo getting the most out of Josh Allen. So I would overall be a huge fan of Brian Daboll if he was hired as the Dolphins' next head coach. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. When we hear more about coaches that are interviewed for the Dolphins head coaching vacancy, I'll make some more in-depth videos, but for now, I just want to talk about some of the speculated candidates and some of the names that have just been brought up and talked about a little bit to be the next Dolphins head coach. Make sure to comment down below which of these names intrigues you the most. And with that being said, I will catch you later. Oh, I forgot to say, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn that post notification bell so you do not miss a single video. I can't believe I almost forgot to do that. But anyways, guys, I will catch you later. Peace.